American people are entitled to know when a foreign power is attempting to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to send around its own propaganda. And that is what we alleged happened in this case.
Whether it's China, Iran, Russia, or any other country, attempts to meddle in our elections or destabilize our free and open society represent attacks on our democracy. And as long as foreign adversaries keep engaging in these hostile influence campaigns, they're going to keep running into the FBI.
Our democracy. Wild how they all just adopt the communist language. And it's crazy, right about election season, about the time everyone starts voting, the DOJ discovers some more Russian collusion. Whoa, scary. Joining me now, Margo Cleveland, senior legal correspondent with the Federalist. Margo, accurate or not, I can't speak to the validity or accuracy of any of the charges or the indictment, but the timing is so obvious, it's painful to me, and even more painful to that are the people on our side who don't recognize it.
It is absolutely obvious, and the part that to me is the most ridiculous is our government and Attorney General Garland, as well as the FBI director, have done more to interfere in our elections, whether it was covering up the Hunter Biden scandal with a laptop, or if it was the Russia hoax back in 2016, or the 51 intelligence community agents who signed that letter. Our government has done more to meddle than Russia has.
Margo, could you explain what exactly we're looking at here? I'm talking about the effectiveness of the op. Does this stuff work on the American people still? It sure seems to me like it works from what I see.
It's because we still have half the country who hates Trump. So anything that they can hook onto, they will. About half the country still believes that there was Russia collusion. I think there's like 30% of Democrats who actually believe that Russia changed votes to get Trump elected. So, yeah, it still works on a portion of society. But I also think we want to look at this from a bigger picture. Every country, ourself included, tries to push its own narrative in other countries and in its own. You have it going on with Ukraine now. You have it with the Biden administration trying to put pressure on Israel when Hamas executes 6 hostages, including one of our own. What do? They come out with this narrative that Israel hasn't done enough. Why? Because they don't like Netanyahu, and they're trying to get him pressured out as prime minister. Every country does this. This is a normal thing. What we really should be talking about is, what about these stories? If Russia is coming out and peddling something, I want to know if it's true or false. I don't care that it's Russia. I care about the truth. And our government has been doing so much to hide things, whether it was about COVID, whether it was about the Hunter Biden laptop. If we're going to get the truth from Russia, then so be it. Let's get the truth.
Okay, so I want to rewind and talk about the Hunter Biden thing, because what a lot of people forget that Antony Blinken actually played a role in all this. Antony Blinken didn't wake up one day and just get handed the prestigious spot of Secretary of State, did he, Margo? He had to put in some work.
He was absolutely involved with this whole approach. He and other members of the Biden campaign were the ones who came up with this idea of putting this letter together. And that is one of the biggest pieces of misinformation that you got. And what did they do? They played it off as this is Russia disinformation, that they're trying to meddle in our election. Again, going back to the point, it was our government, our former officials, and now some of our current officials who were the ones doing the meddling.
Margo, something that isn't talked about, miraculously, is China. This country puts intelligence operatives in positions of power right next to our politicians, everyone from senators to congressmen, city council members. They're spying using technology. It's pervasive, and yet we never hear about them, Margo.
Well, you'll hear about it every now and then when an indictment breaks or someone gets kicked out of someone's high up government position. But it is very ironic that there's more concern about what is going on with Russia in the media where we can see it and you can have fact checking, you can have counterpoints versus China, which is actually in bed, sometimes literally, with government officials.
Wow. Nancy Pelosi's been out there saying, well, a few Democrats have been saying things like this recently.
What do you think Putin has on him? I mean, it sure seems like something, as you've said a few times, given that he refuses to criticize him, that he seems to be a fanboy of him.
So I don't know what he has on him, but I think it's probably financial. I think it's probably financial, either something financial he has on him or something on the come.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that.
Something that he expects to get.
Yeah, speaking of financial ties with Russia, Ukraine, and all that, Democrats have a few of those, don't they?
They sure have those ties, and it is coming from Biden and Hunter, who had the ties with the former mayor's wife, the former Moscow mayor's wife, or with Ukraine. And maybe you want to ask yourself why so much money is going there. But Pelosi's point is just ridiculous. Donald Trump has been the most investigated man ever. If there was something that Russia had on him, they would have found it.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.